And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our second match of the day. I'm Meowing Cat, joined by Jolly, and we are getting right onto the rift with GV Storm versus eBay accounts.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me again. And we did just see eBay accounts play in the last game versus Team Best of Two. They did lose, but put up a fantastic fight. And we may be seeing some bans based off of the play that we saw last game as well for this game.
Yeah, and in the last game, it was definitely a very dominant game for the side of Best of Two, which did end the game a little bit slower than we kind of expected with the lead that we saw. But, they just took it slow and steady, and it was something along the lines of 20-something kills to around 6 or so for eBay accounts, so it was definitely a rough game.
So, in other words, we're not going to see them face check towards the river early game.
Hopefully not, as that does not sound like a good idea that they will want to repeat 2 games in a row in show matches.
Yes, and that 5-man invade is very, very popular right now, especially with a team that feels a little bit more confident. And looking at placements in this one, we do have a little bit of a sway towards Team eBay accounts. So maybe that will give them the bit of confidence that they need, maybe to even invade the opposing side as opposed to being the ones invaded upon. And sticking with that Warwick as well, that was the pick that Ismail had the last game. Didn't necessarily work out. He had some great early game ganks, but just too much damage was coming from the Trundle earlier on. The Chadmere, it looks like picking up Vlad, which was banned out last game. So I'm excited to see Chad on his Vlad.
Yeah, and as the pick ban is done beforehand in Pro Draft, we already know that these champions are not going to be switched around, so it's not going to be like an Ornn bot lane or anything. That will be up in that top lane, so we can actually delve into these matchups already. So touching on that, Ornn versus the Kled, a bit of an aggressive matchup for the Kled, as he definitely likes going against a tank where he can wail down, but Ornn does have a decent amount of damage, as well as CC, maybe some decent gank setup for his Nocturne.
Yeah, as Kled, I would be a little worried for this matchup. Ornn is incredibly powerful, and we'll just have to see how these summoners play on the champions. We do know with this meta, a lot of winning, a lot of losing, a lot of either victors or losers during this style of gaming right now has to do with your comfortability and how well you play on each individual champion. So it's possible that EDR is just an incredibly insane Kled, and we might see this Ornn get trampled upon, in which case that Nocturne's really going to need to show up in that top lane. But I'm thinking a pretty slow top lane based on this, and a lot faster bottom lane. Swain there again in the bot, facing Lucian and Morgana, which could be a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, definitely. The Swain support is not the most popular thing. Has a couple issues with, Swain being a somewhat gold reliant champion. Base damage isn't the best, so on that budget income, maybe not going to be doing as much damage as they would like. And, against the Morgana Lucian, that's a lot of kill pressure if Morgana lands that binding, against that Swain who doesn't have any kind of mobility whatsoever. He's a very easy target. Now, Ezreal has some kind of escape tool, but that Swain, he's definitely very susceptible, especially, post 6. You can get an Ornn TP gank in with that ultimate, as well as a Karma Roam or just a Nocturne level 6.
Yeah, and they do have 3 teleports on the side of GV Storm there. And I absolutely agree with you in the sense that Swain is kind of a scary pick. So we'll see how this actually plays out when the game starts.
Yeah, but touching back on that top lane that we mentioned earlier with the Kled, yeah, he's not too meta at the moment. He hasn't seen some kind of, very high popularity pick rate, but tied in with the Orianna, it's actually a very potent combo where you can Kled ulti into the Ori ball and get a very good ultimate off, as well as the Warwick. His ultimate is based off the movement speed, so if you Kled ulti forward, you can also have a very long range Warwick ulti to follow up with that. So let's say there's someone in the back line very far away, you could dive into that Karma, maybe get that Lucian as long as the Black Shield is on cooldown. So a lot of team fight potential here with this team, and thanks to the Kled ultimate as well as the Orianna.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Meaning we'll probably see this team group up early on as well, even when there is going to be potentially a slow top lane, for instance. And we do have in the bottom lane Lucian Morgana, which is phenomenal. Lucian did take a little bit of a deficit. I know his attack damage growth has decreased, and I do know that when he uses his ultimate here for this game, he's going to have to be a lot more particular about minions not being in the way, because the damage amplification to minions was decreased by half, from 400 to 200%, if I'm not mistaken, in this last patch. So a lot better placement on Lucian, which can be slightly more difficult to get to with an Ezreal and a Swain on the other side.
Yeah, and mentioning that Morgana pick in that bot lane with that Lucian, that adds a lot of peel for this team that, with the Orianna and the Kled and the Warwick, they want to force on someone, lock them down, blow them up, and then just destroy the rest of the team. It's going to be a lot harder to get to those squishies with the Morgana Black Shield, with an Ornn frontlining, and Nocturne has a spell shield of his own, so he's perfectly fine. He shouldn't be as much at risk. So there definitely is a lot of struggles for the team of eBay, as GV Storm has a lot of tools at their disposal, and also their turnaround is not bad at all. They can disengage with the Morgana peeling for somebody, and then the Karma Mantra E, as well as the Ornn ultimate. So there's a lot of tools at the disposal of GV Storm.
I agree, and I think the early game will go in the favor of GD Storm here. If they can make it to the late game, Team eBay accounts does have the potential, but that's the same thing that I said last game for them. And so they didn't actually have the early game that we wanted to see from them. They weren't able to maintain that late game because of the early topple onto them. So this Ezreal Swain lane is really going to depict how the later team fights could potentially turn out. They might have to just sit back and take damage, or wait until they're able to sustain themselves while the Kled, Warwick, and Orianna do most of the damage and most of the engage. And again, based on the 3 teleports that we're seeing from GD Storm, there's going to be a lot of roam. There's not going to be necessarily a lot of team fights early on. So we'll see how they kind of work around this, and how eBay accounts might force those team fights out earlier.
Yeah, but with that, we're going to go to a quick break. Don't go anywhere, as after the tunes end, we'll get right into game with GV Storm versus eBay accounts. So don't go anywhere. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rift. I'm Lol Meowing Cat, joined by Jolly, and we are here with GV Storm versus eBay accounts. On the blue side, we do have GV Storm with Vred in the top lane, Crosshair YT in the jungle, Prides in the mid lane, Moeta on AD carry, and Challenged on support.
And on the red side, we have eBay accounts, EDR in the top lane, Twitch TV, it's Vale in the jungle, the Chadmere as the mid laner, Panther on ADC, and Proper Panda on that support lane.
Yeah, and so far everything looking fairly standard as much as you can with a Swain support. But everyone's itemizations look pretty solid. We see the Rejuve beat on the Warwick, very standard for him. He doesn't really need the pots and wants to go for that Tiamat rush, so nothing unexpected so far. Also, everyone just playing really slow in the early game. No early invades or anything, which is a little, sad to see with a Karma, Morgana, and a Swain on these teams respectively.
Right, with the heavy CC, you'd think there might be some sort of attempted invade or even some attempt to prevent one, maybe all 5 members camping out in a bush, but maybe some warding going down actually towards the mid-top, towards that red buff by the Ornn, so he felt safe walking into that jungle.
Yeah, and that will provide some information as when Warwick passes over it later, they will know that he is on the top side of the map, so that will help Vrid prevent getting ganked. So a little slight information lead over to the side of GV Storm. That's something we have to make note of. It should help their lanes actually be less susceptible to these ganks of the Warwick, which are much better than pre-rework Warwick, as he has a little bit of CC in these ganks now. Oh, Binding landing in the bot lane. Proper Panda taking a nice chunk of damage, but has those 3 health pots as he is a support, so we'll sustain it up.
Already having to pop one and not much damage being poked down to the opposing side, so a great position for this Lucian and Morgana to be in early game.
Isbale in a bit of a iffy position on this Warwick. Bit of trading going on in the bot lane, but not too much is going to come from that. But the Scuttle Crab on the top side does go over to Crosshair, so that's a nice find for the blue team.
And that was some vision on both of those junglers, Nocturne now receiving and Isbale receding into their respective jungles to pick up a few more camps, but keeping a close eye on that mid lane because I think we are going to see a heavy snowball. Lots of potential from both of those champions to get a very early lead and to maintain it throughout the game.
Yeah, they both do, however, have the survivability of their shielding. Both of their E abilities do provide that extra damage prevention. So without the junglers, there might not be too much going on. But these junglers do have very strong ganks, especially at level 6. And these supportive mid laners have a lot of follow-up potential. The Karma having her W as well as Q for slows and the speed up of her E. And the Orianna obviously having great shockwave potential as well as providing buffing to the Warwick. So it's all about these junglers playing around this mid lane and seeing who gets the snowball for the other mid laner.
And if one of these junglers doesn't really snowball any of these lanes, then it is going to be down to the team fights. We were talking earlier about the compositions and how Team eBay accounts has very, very heavy potential for scary team fights later in the game. But I do see that as well from GV Storm here. So if we don't see that jungle pressure, I'm assuming it's going to be a very slow game. Warwick
Isbale going towards the bot side, flashing the binding, now pops a fear. Pushes Morgana towards the team, and first blood going over to that support Swain. Proper Panda picking up that kill.
And we'll see how that works out as well for Panther. Not having the early kills doesn't give him much of a detriment, but later in the game it definitely can. Klepto being picked there on that Ezreal is a standard pick right now for him.
Yeah, we did mention though that this Swain, being on the support position, not going to have as much gold income means he's not going to be doing as much damage. That kill might supplement that a little bit, and he might get his support item, maybe a little bit extra AP off of this first back. And so it's possible this Swain now becomes much more potent as a support pick, as maybe the strategy requires him to snowball for it to succeed.
Absolutely. That's actually a very, very good point there, and one I really hadn't considered given the composition of this team. But yeah, I think Panther should be able to pick up the remainder of the kills, and it's possible that they even fed that one over to Proper Panda there. Lots of damage coming out from both members of this top lane, more from Kled than I would have expected. A bit more aggression than the defensive side that he's got there with Adora's
very aggressive here.
Starting item.
But doesn't look like either top laner has enough kill pressure, as both of them are fairly beefy. But yeah.
And they're letting themselves get low as well. They've got the one ward there from...
Oh, EDR getting a little bit too low, though. Isn't respecting that Ornn, and will get taken out before he can mount up on Skarl. Another solo kill going over to Vred, and that's going to even up the kill score.
Great start, and we've seen how snowball heavy an Ornn and any top laner really can get at this point. 5.5 minutes in now, the first kill for GV Storm going over to that Ornn, which is great. It gives him the
Look at this Warwick,
opportunity to kind
though.
of catch up on the CS deficit.
Going for the fear, but not going to find it, and got a little bit impatient. EDR wasn't here to follow up, and Vred going to make it out alive. Wasting a bit of time and getting the teleport out of EDR2 means that this is definitely a good top lane position for Vred to be in. Oh, some brawling going down near the mid lane though. Chadamir getting very low, ignited, and having to flash out on this Orianna, using both summoners now. The ignite and roam from challenged, very helpful towards Prides, as getting the double summoner advantage in that mid lane for Team GV Storm is going to be pretty substantial.
There's 5 summoner spells now down for the side of eBay accounts. Luckily, it's not heavy towards one lane aside from mid, of course, here, so they do still have some great potential on this bottom side to push as hard as possible. Just the flash being on from Proper Panda here. And Lucian and Morgana now having to play a little bit safer towards their own tower because of the pressure that we saw as well from the Warwick that jumped in earlier.
Yeah, and we have to mention that this Lucian took teleport, which is a very smart summoner choice, as he was assuming Ezreal's probably gonna take teleport. And so he was going to match that, but now he doesn't have teleport, or he doesn't have heal to the Ezreal's heal. So they are down combat summoners, where the Ezreal has heal, and Proper Panda does have his ignite up currently, while challenged not having the ignite currently, and no heal on Moeta means that they have to be careful for the all-ins, which Ezreal doesn't have great all-ins, but Swain does have pretty substantial damage himself, so they have to be a little bit cautious. But if they can get through it, they can then bully out with their extra teleport ability, and then just take a trade like that, hopefully not get killed, TP back to lane, and then have an advantage of items as well as possibly health and mana.
Yeah, and a risky summoner move there as well, going with the
on challenge. EDR getting very aggressive, but look at this Crosshair right behind him. Now this Ornn ultimate is coming out, Call of the Forge God gonna land, and Crosshair is gonna get a kill onto EDR. Again, this Kled getting very aggressive and paying for it with his life.
Even with a bit of ward, I think they've got the scuttle there in the river that Nocturne was able to avoid that, or at least prevent the Kled from noticing that he was moving up. So great pressure there, and that's Ornn 1-0-1 now, a great place you want to be in. Probably now that Nocturne has to focus a lot less on that top lane and can maybe help out this bottom lane that is hurting quite a bit now.
Yeah, definitely. Proper Panda getting a lot of damage onto challenge there, and look at these health bars. Sub 200 HP for both of these bot laners on the side of GV Storm. eBay accounts getting a very good amount of poke with this Swain Ezreal, and that is definitely something that they do have. They have a lot of poke. The Swain having his low cooldown Q, as well as prodding for picks with his never move, and then Ezreal obviously kind of the poke ADC with his Mystic Shot. Very expected to see that. So definitely playing this lane out very well, and the unorthodox Swain pick is doing fairly decent. We'll have to see how it scales up into the later game though.
Not as odd of an early game matchup as I would have expected. And we know that this Lucian as well is focusing very heavily on trying to out-CS this Ezreal, having the teleport, getting back into lane early when having to back or getting killed, but is now just able to maintain and supersede the CS that the Ezreal has. So actually Ezreal had the CS advantage earlier game because of the pressure that Swain was able to put down. So it's working out very well for them and might end up working out towards the later game as well, not just this early game that we've seen.
Yeah, I do want to make a little bit of a note though. Proper Panda has not upgraded support item, which is not very common among support players, as if you don't upgrade support item, you're losing out on gold income, and you're also losing out on the vision once it's upgraded. So you're gonna have to eventually upgrade it, or else you're just lacking on that vision. And you might as well upgrade it sooner for extra gold. This Nocturne ultimate coming out though. Warwick is gonna look to possibly turn around though. Black Shield is going to prevent the Nocturne from getting CC too hard. Kill going over to Moeta, and a double kill going over to Moeta, actually. Picking up Proper Panda too. Swain ultimate was a little bit aggressive as he was hit by the binding, and now they're turning their attention towards the dragon.
Great move there and great follow-up. Moeta in a bit of a scary position, but able to get the ultimate off just in time. Now has the red buff as well, and they are going to, it appears, pick up this Mountain Drake. Orianna and Ezreal kind of poking their noses in, but unable to do anything with some main team members down from them. So Swain going back in the lane, that's going to let the bottom lane move up and put some pressure over towards this mid lane.
Yeah. Now, in this top lane, I want to make note. Itzbale is coming up right here. Red does not have his ultimate, and EDR going forward with the charge. Now we see the Warwick going in, not getting the fear yet, and doesn't have the ultimate actually. No infinite duress to lock down that Ornn. So Red getting out of these ganks again because of just the lane state. Look where this lane is all the time. Past the river, EDR playing so far up, constantly pushing, and Red is just enjoying it.
And he does have that ward there in the river, but it was a quick move from the Warwick, and he isn't going to back. He doesn't have that teleport back up, and that did put him in a little bit of a position. Even though he didn't die there, they did get the flash out. They know that the TP is down at about half cooldown, so still has to wait a considerable amount to get back in that lane if he is forced to back. And now we've got Kled able to back just because of that. Able to get the Tiamat, and he's got a long sword as well as a ruby crystal, so a bit more sustain, a bit more survivability as well, hopefully coming from him being 0-2-0.
During that, the Rift Herald was being taken. Itzbale just going from that top lane, getting straight to the Rift Herald, knowing that Crosshair was still on the bot side after the dragon. Now he did lose his whole bottom side jungle for it, but he will take the Gromp back, it looks like, as well as getting that Rift Herald, obviously very valuable. So we'll have to see if they can make good use of it. Trading Rift Herald for Dragon is not at all a bad thing to do. And so it's all about the usage of this Rift Herald. It could either be very good or it could be just worthless. Oh, but he maybe went for a little bit too aggressive an invade. I don't think he was spotted out. Was he?
No, it does not appear so.
It's
there we go.
Just scrambling out of there. And wow, that is more success than I thought he was going to find with that.
Yeah, quick movements. There were some pings coming out from, it looked like the Nocturne, maybe even the Karma there. And lots of damage coming now onto Moeta on this Lucian in the bottom lane. So that sustainability, that survivability I was kind of talking about is turning down into this bottom lane. Ezreal ultimate.
Yeah, now bot lane fight going down. Itzbale coming in, getting a kill for himself. Moeta already picking up a kill onto Proper Panda. And now Itzbale going even further in, but maybe a little too far as Pride gets the return kill.
He was hoping for much more damage onto that Karma, and if I'm not mistaken, she Mantra-E'd and was able to save herself and deal the returning damage back onto that Warwick. Puts him at 1-2-1, and that Lucian now in the ADC role for GB Storm is at 3-0-1, and that's exactly where you want him. He's gotten some great ultimates down, some great pressure where he wants it, and they may have been forced to play it safe, but that's okay because he's maintaining the CS with this Ezreal, and they're forcing this Swain off, which is exactly what they want.
Yeah, and now look at this Lucian's build. In this bot lane, he has finally finished his Essence Reaver, which is a massive spike for this Lucian, as it will allow him to play extremely aggressively when he has that ultimate available. And so, against this Swain, who has very low mobility and not too much damage, especially with the build that he's going, I don't think there's much kill pressure for this Lucian to fear. And especially with a Morgana preventing the Swain from CCing at all, very predictable CC on the Swain with that never move.
And we have seen some great Black Shields from this Morgana as well, so you can definitely rely on her to notice when the Swain might be moving in, when some CC might be laid down by the rest of the team as well. And yeah, it seems like the standard meta ADC and support is working out.
Charge going down in the top lane. Red Knight finally fall now. Infinite Duress is not available, but the fear was used to push Red away from the tower, and the kill finally will go over to Itzbale as this top laner can die. And oh, the Rift Herald is being used here too. Looks like they're going to at least get an outer tower, but now in the bot lane, there's a Nocturne going in for a dive. Onto the Ezreal, gets one kill, down turning his attention to the Swain, uses stopwatch to prevent the death. Challenge getting a little bit low though, Moeta not picking up the kill, and Challenge actually is going to drop. No heal on that 80 carry means no way to save him. And Moeta does fall, but during that whole charade in the bot lane, there was a top tower being taken down, and the Rift Herald is still alive. Red not available to teleport even, now TPing to this top lane. But this tower is at least going to lose half its HP.
A risky move. There's Shelly coming out and dealing some good damage onto that top lane. is failing. EDR there to back it up. Fred is the only one though, so it is going to deal a substantial amount of damage to that top tower. 1 and 2 now, the tower count, 1 in favor of GB Storm and 2 for eBay accounts, and barely any differential in the gold, which is exactly what we want to see in these kinds of games at about 15 minutes in. Last game, we had at less than 10 minutes in almost a 3K gold differential, and we saw how that panned out for eBay accounts here. So they're playing it a lot safer, and they're playing towards their advantages for this bottom lane, and Ornn is working out incredibly well for GB Storm as well.
Yeah, definitely. This Ornn is getting a lot of pressure in the top lane. I mean, he's been ganked 4 times or so, and he's only died once. And even if this Ornn does fall fairly far behind, he always has so much utility that it's not even that much of a problem, because yes, he might die really fast in a team fight if he doesn't have his tank items, but he's always going to have that Call of the Forge God. He's still going to have some survivability with his Bellows Breath. He's still going to have the utility from his Volcanic Rupture into the Searing Charge. So he has so many tools at his disposal that it doesn't matter if he's going to be playing on a budget. Unlike the Swain, where this Swain definitely does need some gold on that support position.
Absolutely. And we did see as well, when Ornn died up in that top lane, he was really just locked between the two champions, unable to move around them. They're maybe not knowing Proper Panda and Panther down in this bottom lane trying to get some vision up, because there was some counter vision going on there from eBay accounts, which is good to see because that did work out.
Oh, Dragon being started.
Last game.
And a lane swap was initiated by GV Storm. They put their bot side to the top, but that does leave the Dragon exposed. Infernal Drake is going to be fought over, and it will go over to Crosshair. The Dragon and the kill on its Bale. Great move from the Nocturne. But now some health bars dropping really low. This Swain not going to drop though, getting a lot of sustain from the ultimate and will be able to escape. And Shockwave coming out massive, getting a double kill for Chatamir.
A bit of an early invade there from the Karma, attempting to deal some damage, and the Ornn as well. Ornn trying to do what he could until Karma was able to join in on that fight. But when she was, that Orianna ultimate came out, and it worked very well for them. So great communication coming here from Team eBay accounts, but we were kind of lacking last game. A lot more of an aggressive move here, but like you mentioned, Chatamir hopefully able to sustain himself for the later game. Panther doing a great job on this Ezreal, but may not be enough for the later game.
Yeah, Ezreal, if he does go for the double tier build, does not scale too bad, as he still will have very high damage output. If he doesn't opt into that, he will have a better spike in the mid game, but won't scale too well. So we'll have to see what he itemizes towards. The charge coming out onto Moeta. EDR going very deep and will pick up a kill. Massive damage from this Kled. Now Challenge trying to escape after his ADC's fallen, but the Inferno SRS will lock him down. No Black Shield to be found, and Twitch.tv, it's Bale, picks up a kill for himself. Gave you the little plug there, buddy.
Yeah, it looks like he didn't really know what to do in that instance. That Dark Binding did miss right off the bat, which could have potentially saved Moeta earlier on there to deal some extra damage to that Kled before the Warwick was able to jump in and support that. But may be able to recover still. They did lose a tower out of that. 2 towers now for GB Storm, 3 for eBay accounts, but 9-9 being the kill.
Oh, EDR maybe caught out here. Nocturne going for the fear, does get it. Call of the Forge God's not going to connect, but Karma and Nocturne so close to this Kled that he's not going to be able to get away. And EDR does fall to Crosshair again. This Nocturne is getting very big too, with a Guardian Angel pickup. A lot of survivability on him, at least.
And I think we are going to see a lot more roam now that it's gotten towards the team fights from this Orianna. She's massively capable of doing damage. She has about a 50 CS lead on her opponent. This Karma pride's not quite where she wants to be, but working her way into these team fights and doing a great job. So we need to see more of that Orianna earlier on in the team fights, and I think it'll make it so that eBay accounts can topple over GB Storm a little bit more quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, Chatamir does have a 2,000 gold lead, actually surpassing that over Pride's. So this mid lane difference is very, very real. If we do want to mention the other gold leads though, there's a 1k gold lead in favor of EDR, this Kled, with his CS difference. And there's actually another 1k gold lead in favor of Moeta. So actually on the side of GV Storm for once. So they do have one person to play around, and that definitely is the Lucian, as well as the Nocturne to a certain degree. But they need to be playing around those 2 carries, or else they will not be winning fights with just Karma or Ornn. As, you know, the rest of the team of the Warwick, the Kled, the Karma, the bot lane, they can all do decent damage by themselves.
Yeah, and luckily, those champions that you want to be alive during those fights have not gone down very easily. It looks like the Nocturne, the Karma, and the Lucian, each with only one death, most of it going over to Morgana.
Yeah, an engage coming down here, challenge getting taken out by EDR. Again, this charge getting a lot of value. Now Moeta in a very sticky situation and will get taken out by Proper Panda. The Electrocute giving the kill over to this Swain in his Demonic Ascension. Very cool skin, by the way. I like that. That purple dragon is pretty cool. But Baron being started now off the back of that fight. The bot lane for GV Storm dead. eBay accounts looking to solidify their accounts as their own with this Baron play, as it could give them a lot of momentum in this otherwise very close game.
And Kled doing a great job of pressuring the team of GV Storm off of this Baron. We saw some pings coming out. Hey, maybe they're over here, but they weren't certain. Red team now being able to capitalize and actually pick that Baron up before GV Storm really knew that they were engaging onto that. Great job by the Kled.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like EDR with his Kled ultimates has been just constant aggression. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it has been non-stop aggression. Almost as soon as it is off cooldown, he is just going forward, charging in. And when his team is behind him, it has generally been working pretty well. So as long as they keep that coordination up and keep these past few fights going, especially off the back of that Baron play, they can get a lot of gold and a lot of objectives, take down these towers, and possibly even get some insurance towards a win.
And they are at about a 5k gold lead right now, which is great considering it's only 10 kills to 11 kills, so not a massive kill differential. But EDR, we were kind of considering that he would be a little more defensive this game, but an incredibly aggressive and offensive build, and an incredibly offensive play style as well, and it's working out incredibly well for them. We've got this top tower now very, very low, so soon enough that is going to go down, especially with Baron minions there in the wings of that top lane.
Yeah, and I want to make note of how eBay accounts lost the last game, but this game, they aren't playing like they just came off of a loss. They're just saying, we're going to do our thing, we're going to play aggressively, and we're going to get the win. They're not saying, like, oh, we played poorly last game, let's just shove everyone into a box so, you know, the players who didn't make mistakes last game can do their thing. They're just letting them do their thing and saying, we're going to stick to our guns, stick to what we know, and we're going to make it work, because that is our best chance of winning. And it definitely looks like it, as they're making it work this game compared to last game where they had a very rough game.
Yeah, and they're focusing objectives much more. We've got 8 seconds now until this next dragon spawns. Lots of pressure already from them hanging out around it. Looks like we've got an Infernal coming in there. And now they're going to push in this mid lane, maybe trying to bait a GV Storm towards that dragon, because I think it should be a high priority for them.
This is a bit of a weird thing. Itspale is in the top lane. Dragon's up right now. They have to be careful as their jungler isn't here. It might be a 4v5 coming out here. Red looking for the ultimate, and it's going to come out. Shockwave, though, massive in the backline, taking out so much damage on everybody. EDR going forward on the Kled, getting 2 kills for himself, making it a triple kill. That was massive. The Warwick now coming in finally, getting Infinite Dress onto Red, will get pulled towards the team thanks to the Swim passive, and Crosshair gonna get taken out finally. And that is gonna be a clean ace.
Wow.
That Baron play is gonna be massive, and that will be at least an inhibitor coming out for the side of eBay accounts.
5 for 0 for them, and yes, they did get low. We saw maybe a little bit of a misstep there by Crosshair towards the end, step back towards the tower instead of away from. And so now this gives the opportunity. Yes, they picked up that first inhibitor. They're likely going to head over towards this dragon, pick up their first one for the game, since the previous 2 did go over to GV Storm, and that's going to give them a great advantage, especially with this Kled doing as much damage as he is. It's going to put GV Storm on the far offensive as well.
Yeah, and off the back of that, they can also pick up an Infernal Drake, then just reset with his Baron that's about to timeout, and now they can execute, you know, whatever split push they desire. Probably going to be a 4-0-1 split push, as they have the mid inhibitor already. They do have the teleport available on EDR, and he definitely is doing very well in the split push. So sending EDR to the bot lane right now, it looks like that's actually what they're planning to do, and if they do so and execute on it properly, that could basically secure them the game.
And let's take another look at this CS differential. We saw a bit of a back and forth with the bottom lane. We saw a bit of a back and forth with the top lane. But look at this mid lane, 170 on the Karma to 230 on this Orianna. And we saw the ultimate at the beginning of that fight as well, just how much that helped the remainder of the team to follow up even under tower, and the amount of damage that she was able to do there. 3-0-7, so she has not died yet. A
Yeah.
perfect game going for the Chadamir right now. And no summoner spells.
Look at the items. Just look at this mid lane's items. It is a Ludens to Ludens, an unfinished Morello, just the Oblivion Orb, to a full Morello, and a Rabadon's Death Cap to a health pot, basically. That is the difference in the mid lane. So Chadamir having a lot of damage.
Yes, lots of damage, and lots of damage as we've seen coming out from that Kled. An extremely aggressive build. Now a BF sword being picked up. Still has that long sword with him, but the Titanic Hydra and the Black Cleaver are doing so much damage, being used very, very well. We saw the dive behind tower to get a triple kill. It was 3v1, and the rest of the team relied on that Kled and were confident enough to let him go in, not necessarily follow him up, and go for the tankier champions on GV Storm that they needed to wipe out.
Yeah, now they do have to be careful with this split push though. They do have a Nocturne who can always come from anywhere, as well as the Call of the Forge God having a very, very generous range for this Ornn. So even if Ornn is, clearing mid lane or something, he can definitely influence a team fight in the bot lane when they're trying to siege. So you have to be cautious of these globals, or these semi-global ultimates on the top side of the map. And you have to, but you can't just falter and just say, oh, since I have that, we can't siege anymore. So you have to go for this kind of risky siege. And without Baron, it is a lot harder. Baron is up in a minute 30 though, so they could just play it slow until then and then go for that, but they are not doing that whatsoever. And they just deleted Moeta. Black Shield was not in time, but there is a Nocturne diving in. Swain is not going to be taken out, and actually correction, that is actually the Orianna who's extremely low. Challenge now drops. Chadamir gonna escape with his life, dodging the Call of the Forge God, but Fred will flash forward, but flashing forward will secure his own fate, as that is an ace. 5 for 1, excuse me, as Chadamir is the only one to drop, dying valiantly for his team, as that will be the game for eBay accounts, as GV Storm does fall in that last fight.
26-33 currently in the game. It's going to be under 27 minutes, which is phenomenal to see, especially from a losing team on the opposing side. So great game played by both teams, but this comp on red side was just to die for.
Yeah, so that will be going to eBay accounts. And we do have another match tonight, which will be GV Storm versus Best of 2, I believe.
At 5 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yes, so that will be in a little bit. So GV Storm does have a chance to redeem themselves, and actually, that is against a team that beat eBay accounts, so we can have this kind of 1-1-1 situation where every team picks up a win and gets a loss. Or it could be that GV Storm loses, and that we have this eBay accounts with 1 win, 1 loss, GV Storm with 2 losses, and then we have
team best of 2.
Best of 2 with a 2-0. So we'll have to see how that concludes.
Yeah, it could go either way. No matter what, we've seen some amazing plays from all of these teams, some great comps, great picks and bans, and so we hope to see more of that from them here in the next coming games.
Yes, but with that, that will be all for us. For now, we will return in an hour with the final best of 1 for today, with GV Storm versus Best of 2 to see if GV Storm can pick up their first win of the day. So that should be an interesting match, as, I mean, they played really well here against eBay. And so I think that they have a decent shot, although eBay was a team that lost to Best of 2. So
and a pretty big loss at that.
Yeah, it definitely will be a bit of a weird situation if GV Storm does win. But it definitely will be exciting to watch at the very least, as they weren't some kind of, pushover team at all, especially in the early game, which definitely looked like a strength for the side of Best of 2.
And a very surprising quick game at that. So definitely check back in at 5 o'clock. We're going to have a little bit more than an hour break here. But I can't wait to see how these teams turn it around.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be exciting to see that. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for all of the folks across the globe. I mean, you can convert if you're not in those time zones. Work it out. But on behalf of Learning Fives, I'm Meowing Cat, joined by Jolly. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and we'll see you at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you.